Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire. Today, we are joined by the creative force behind one of Melbourne's most iconic dining experiences, Entrecôte, the elegant French steakhouse that's become synonymous with Parisian charm in Praran. Welcome to Dining Room Stories, Mr. Jason Jones.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing good.
Ciao, Jason.
Ciao.
Thanks for being here.
A pleasure. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. So let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You are such a successful entrepreneur and you build like beautiful like restaurants and experiences. What going back, when the passion with hospitality started?
I suppose I'm a country boy. So grew up in Gippsland here in Victoria. And I suppose it all stems from I started playing the piano when I was probably 9 years old, maybe 8, 9 years old. And I was self-taught to play the piano. So I taught myself to play the piano. And then at the age of 11, I was quite good. I mean, I didn't even drink then, and I was good on the piano. So I think what happened really is there was a very young couple that moved from Melbourne, and they bought this extraordinary property called Powers Court, which was a beautiful old country estate in my hometown of Maffra, a little town of 4,000 people. And in this country estate was this ballroom, and they turned this quite very well famous property in the country into a gourmet retreat. With the ballroom, they turned into the restaurant. And my auntie and uncle, who were very supportive of me, Auntie Di and my Auntie Keg, and my Uncle Keg, sorry, they rang the owners and said, "Oh, we hear you've got a grand piano out in this ballroom restaurant. And my nephew is 11 years old. Can he come and practice on it? Because he's never played a grand piano before." So I went out to this extraordinary property, and I played the grand piano, and the young woman at the time, she was only 31, Michelle Pugsley, who had bought the property, she asked me if I'd like to become the resident pianist every Friday, Saturday night at the restaurant. So from the age of 11, I started playing the piano every Friday, Saturday night in this beautiful chef-out restaurant, which was otherworldly. And I was there until I was 17 years old, and I then did my chef's apprenticeship there, and also I did all my waiting skills as well. So I actually ended up pretty much living at the property over that next 6 or 7 years. And my love of hospitality really came from those sort of very primitive early years at Powers Court.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you moved to Melbourne at one stage, right?
Yes, I had several restaurants in Gippsland over the years. I opened my first restaurant when I was 17 years old, called No Ego at All, called Jason's Restaurant.
I like it.
Well,
Just a personal
there was
touch.
no guessing who owned it. And that was a fantastic experience. My grandparents supported me there and matched me dollar for dollar the money that I earned over the years at Powers Court. And then also they matched me dollar for dollar, and we opened my first restaurant when I was 17 called Jason's. And I had that for maybe 2 or 3 years, very successful little restaurant in my grandparents' nursery. I thought I knew everything. I didn't really know much at all, but I thought I sort of knew everything. Or my pop would have said I thought I knew everything. And I learned lots of things there, lots of mistakes, lots of great times, but it was a very memorable, really extraordinary time to be learning. And I certainly learned by a lot of mistakes in that age when you're 17 and think you know everything.
I mean, at 17, you were already running like your own business. That's pretty successful.
Correct. Yeah. I sold that when I was just before 21, I think. So it was for quite a few years I had it, and it taught me a lot. That's for sure.
So inspiration for you was and has been like music, and then possibly you like people, talking to people, I assume.
Yeah, I still love the public and still love people, which is can be a bit testing at times. I'm a big believer in not everyone's right. There's some people aren't. The customer's not always right. I'm a big believer in that. But yeah, I still have a genuine love of hospitality. I'm blessed now that many years later. I mean, I've been 39 years in hospitality now, and I turn 50 next year, so that makes sense. 11 plus 39, 50, and so I think I'm at a stage now where I don't have to be involved so much in the business, but more on the business, and there's really not a day I don't wake up and think I have to go to work today. I still love what I do. I still absolutely passionate about the industry and what we do. Yep.
That's beautiful. Can we still hear you playing the piano?
Yeah. After a few drinks, so I can usually be coerced to play a song or two. Yeah, even at Entrecôte, I'll if I'm there for dinner and I've had a few glasses of Pinot or Burgundy, I'll jump on the piano maybe now and again. But depending on who's coercing me, I think.
Yeah, just like a bit of nice French wine, good food, and then we can.
That's
playing
exactly
and
right.
having a good time.
I'd say a couple of bottles rather than a couple of glasses. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Entrecôte has become more than just a restaurant. It's a feeling. What was the inspiration behind it?
It's funny because I've just finished a year's writing of Entrecôte's 10th anniversary, which is coming up this year. So celebrating my 50th birthday and Entrecôte's 10th birthday. And Entrecôte really stemmed from, because I sort of worked quite young and then I had many restaurants up until I was 30. And I didn't really travel overseas because I was working. And so really the first time I actually fell sick with cancer and was in and out of hospital for a couple of years with cancer. And then when I turned 30, I thought, bugger it, I'm gonna start traveling a little bit. And I'd always wanted to go to Paris. So I went to Paris and the first restaurant I went to was the original Entrecôte in Paris. And what blew me away was, because everyone had said, where to go, what to do, but this particular restaurant was interesting. It just had something about it, that was interesting because they only served one dish. It was a steak with frites and this oily green herb sauce. And when I went there, I was there by myself. I lived there in Paris for 2 months. And the first night I landed in Paris, I went to Entrecôte. And it was just what blew me away the most is you line up to get in, and this has been going since 1956. This restaurant, and it's still lining up to get in. But it's not just tourists; it's also many locals that still go. And I think it's always like when you say if you go to a yum cha place and there's many Asians there eating yum cha, it's going to be great yum cha. And it's the same as if you go to Paris and you're eating in a restaurant that's full of locals as well as tourists. That they're doing something right, and so that memory always stuck in my mind, and to do at some stage that concept. And then when obviously forward 10 more years, and the site on Domain Road came up, which was of course the first Entrecôte, and I just thought that was the perfect site to test this 1 year pop up, which I thought we'd do. Entrecôte, where we just serve steak frites, and obviously it worked.
So we can say you were the first restaurant to serve one dish only.
We were, yes. Apparently, there's another one that's just come out this week or two.
And somebody said they were the first.
Yeah, but no. 10 years ago, we did start with just steak frites. We just had oysters as entree. That was the only choice you had. And we went through, I think we were going through 4,000 oysters a week, and we were doing nearly a ton of porterhouse a week.
Wow.
When we first opened Entrecôte and Domain Road. Yeah. So.
You have such an instinct for creating experiences. When you step into Entrecôte, it feels like to be in Paris. How do you balance the beauty of a restaurant, the service, the comfort, without losing the soul of hospitality?
Yeah, I think, and I've always said this, hospitality is about generosity to me. It's never, and our biggest thing, even with, and no one's perfect and we're not perfect, but what we try to instill with our culture, within our business, Entrecôte in particular, is it's just like coming to someone's house. As soon as you walk in, it's that 20-second eye contact. Even if you can't get to them, it's a hello. I always say, imagine if you came to my house, knocked on my door, I answer the door, you've got a bottle of wine in your hand, and I just turn around and walk away. I don't say, hello, welcome, come in, have a drink. That's what we need to do. We need to capture that first moment, because that's really what it's the first part of the dining experience, I think, and always the last. We try to do that all the time. Of course, there's times where we may miss it, but it's a really big, important part of what we do. I'm also lucky to be married to an extraordinary designer, Bremen Pereira, Bremy, as everyone calls him. And together we work on the fit-outs of Entrecôtes, the Entrecôtes that we have done. The new Entrecôte obviously is quite a mammoth site. It seats about 200 people. And we do about 3,000 covers there a week. So it's a big operation. And but I think you're right. And the way we designed the new Entrecôte is that we have made it a series of spaces. So it's like sort of walking through a chateau. You know, you've got the brasserie at the front, which is a little, you know, what we'd call a foyer in a chateau. Then you walk up the stairs and you've got the good rooms, which would be a parlour or a salon in a chateau. And that's where the dining room is. And you've got the beautiful outdoor conservatoire. Then we've got the cellar and the kitchen area, which is the chateau kitchen. So we've sort of made it feel like you're sort of stepping through a chateau rather than one big space. And
I agree. And it's an evolution of what the first Entrecôte was.
Exactly. You've hit it on the nail. Yeah, exactly. Because why the first Entrecôte was so successful, there was many reasons. But of course, it was across the road from the Botanic Gardens in one of the most iconic dining strips in Melbourne. You know, that strip of Domain Road with...
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. Remember to subscribe to our channel to get updates and keep enjoying the rest of the episode.
With you know, Bakash and the Botanical. And
yeah,
Matilda.
but you drew a lot of people there once you opened.
Well, it was funny because there was that strip up that end of Domain Road, and then I always called where we were on the corner our little island. And I felt, even though we all got on so well, I always felt like we had our own little island on that corner of Domain Road and Millsland Street. Yeah.
Entrecôte, it is really tied up to the French culture. And you say you've been traveling not super early. So how did this passion and love with French
France.
Cuisine with France happen?
Well,
why not Italy?
Why? It's funny.
Let's not get there. Oh,
with the two Italians interviewing me. I love it. Okay, so this is quite funny actually, because I grew up in Gippsland, and there was a particular family who I was very close to, the Lazaro family. And I'm very good friends with Sam Lazaro all through secondary college. And his family were Italian. They were from the Aeolian Islands, his father, Kevin. And they just had so much style. I mean, these Italian guys, they're beautiful houses, beautiful style, you know, always drove us cars that were different, a Saab or, you know, it was always stuff that we didn't see in the country. And I'm very close to them, and I would put them down as, you know, huge mentors of mine as well. And I always thought, you know, Italians had it all, the cars, the women at the time, now the men, you know, the food, the style, the language, it's beautiful. And I love Italy. I love Italy. So
I love Australia,
but I love France better.
You like France better?
I love Australia, but so I went to France first. I don't know. I think I was involved with someone at the time who sort of pushed me a bit more to France, and of course we're lucky enough to travel once every year and do a big trip once a year now. And Italy is, you know, I mean, Lake Como is my favorite place in the world, but I am a Francophile. Yeah. So. Do I still speak a word of French? None.
Really?
No, not a word.
I thought you did.
No, terrible.
No pas français?
It's all none at all. Don't even try me.
That's the only thing I know.
I think my ADHD doesn't allow me to learn a language. I'm sure it's something like
I'm
that.
from Milan, so we have
Oh, you have your own language?
Yeah, I mean, it's dialect. No one speaks
Wow.
it. But someone speaking like the dialect, Milanese dialect, can definitely understand a French person. It's so close.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. But also, you know, fashion and, you know, style and design, Milan and Paris, they are connected in a sense.
No, I do agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's more from Rome, so it's different.
Yeah, from the Bronx. Yeah.
But definitely, yeah, style and design. And so how do you balance creativity in your own, like, career and in your
Well, you know, I mean, how do I balance style? I mean, I'm lucky I've got a partner who tells me what he thinks of what I'm wearing.
Yeah, it's for you. It's like, that's something I have to think about.
He has a fair influence on a fair bit of my life, I must admit. But I'm also very strong-minded in the fact that, yeah, I mean, I have my, I'm very black and white, and I have no grey. So I either like something or I don't. There's no. I hate the word nice. I think nice is one of the worst words in the world. Like when somebody says, "How was it?" and they say, "Oh, it was nice." I'm like, not good. Don't like nice. It's either great or bad. Okay. There's no nice.
So great. If someone say you're nice, you say,
I hate that. He's nice. My partner's Sri Lankan, and his family, if they're meeting someone, they'll say, hey, he's a nice boy. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. I didn't say that about me. I'm a very good, I'm a great boy.
You're a great boy. You faced some incredible personal challenges. You said it before, surviving cancer twice.
Yep.
And more recently, you had an heart surgery.
God, you have done your homework.
How have those experiences shaped you?
Well, I suppose the first one with cancer is, that's when I sort of woke up, and it's in my book. My book is not only about 10 years of Entrecôte, it's also about a lot of personal stuff going back to even that. I had amazing people around me, amazing family. And cancer, it was so long ago now. It was 20 years ago. So to me, I don't have much memory of it, just that it was a bad time and it was a bit of a rough time and it was very tough because cancer then 20 years ago was very different to some of the cancer treatment today. The heart attack, on the other hand, was a doozy because it crept up on me without me knowing. And all of a sudden you're in having a quadruple bypass, or triple bypass, sorry. And then you sort of wake up and it's all sort of happened. So it all happens very quickly. But they call it the cardiac blues, I think. And I had a very tough 6 months after the heart attack. I think when you face mortality. And it was, I think it was one of the hardest times of my life, actually. That period after the recovery of the heart attack was, and also we're in the middle of COVID. So we're out of COVID, actually. Sorry, my mistake. But still, when I had it, Brem had to drop me at the front door. So Brem couldn't even come into the hospital so it must have been during COVID. And and I couldn't have visitors. That's right. I couldn't have visitors in the hospital. So it was tough, but then the recovery was during COVID. And that was tough because you're worried about the businesses surviving and you're also worried about,
yourself
surviving.
Yourself surviving.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. What changes when you come?
I think I become more
close?
humble. Yeah. Yeah, I think you start really thinking about, I'm only 49, but I think I've started looking at life-work balance a lot more since then, and health, obviously looking at my health and what how I look, how I do things, a little bit more exercise, a little bit less of a good life,
You are an incredible entrepreneur.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it's funny. I don't see myself as an entrepreneur. I just see myself as a guy that has a dream but chases it. I've never done a cash flow in my life or a cash flow plan in my life. I go with my gut feeling on anything that if I feel one bit that this isn't going to work, I pull away from it very quickly. I think I have an ability to do that quite good, but that's not that I've not had my failures. Luckily, I've never had a business that's gone bad on me. I've had enough foresight to say this is not working. We can't flog a dead horse anymore, and we should offload this business before it's got to a stage where it's become a financial burden. Probably my most disappointing one, if we're talking about disappointments, is we did 3 years of a renovation of a beautiful homestead out in Rowville, which sort of reminded me of my childhood at Powerscourt. And we spent a lot of money on doing that. Excuse me, sorry. And then as soon as we opened, 5 months later, COVID hit. And so that was, we took a huge financial hit on that property to move it on. There's some great new owners who have taken it on. And but still, I think that's probably one of my biggest disappointments that I've had, putting 3 years into the love of that place and what it could have been. And then with COVID opening and shutting us down over 1 or 2 years, it made it impossible to continue the business on.
Was a really difficult period, the COVID one.
Financially. Yeah, it put us back about 10 years, I think.
How did your business pivot during that time?
Well, Entrecôte was our saviour. Entrecôte was, I write about it in the book, but when the government was shutting us down, I think the first week they sort of told everyone not to go out, our turnover went down 50%, but week 3 of telling people not to go out, our turnover was 75% down. And when you've got 120 staff on the books, in that particular restaurant, it sort of does make you worry a little bit for their future and certainly my own. And we were throwing all our own savings into it to keep it going each week. But then all the shutdowns happened. When the shutdowns finally happened, we just pivoted into a corner store. We then started Entrecôte at Home, which we did for the first month or so. And then Shane D'Elio, of course, saved us with Providor. And at one stage we were doing, think we're doing about 1,000 boxes a week in the Entrecôte at home. And then we also started our own retail, like green sauce and the dressing and the seasoning. So we managed to keep all our staff, except for a few of the internationals, where we just couldn't afford to keep them on. We kept all our full-time staff going the whole period, and we actually came out of COVID almost stronger than we went in. So it was we pivoted very well, and then we introduced picnics in the park, and we did the furniture hire. We could hire white linen and tables and chairs and get a picnic off us, and even the police turned up at one stage because across in the Botanic Gardens there was maybe 50 tables with white linen and chairs and people drinking wine and having picnics. And they're like, you set your restaurant up across the road. I said, no, we haven't. Here's contracts. They've hired the furniture. They've bought the picnic. We're not serving them. And they're all 1.5 meters apart in their little circle halos. So we were doing nothing wrong, but it was actually, I don't think my creativity's ever had to work as hard as it did. Yeah.
I remember that period, and you were an inspiration for us all, restaurateurs.
No, thank you. Yeah, but there were some great people during that period that really kept the spirit alive. Bruce Keeber being one of them from the big group. His words each sort of week when we'd hear something new from the government, and his words of encouragement and wisdom I really took. And I think all of us to be still sitting here today and lived through that Victorian period of shutdowns. I think anyone that's still in the industry after that period managed to get through it. I think hats off to all of us, really. Yep.
What do you think of today's economy?
Today, okay. You said we only had 45 minutes. Well, there's a new Liberal leader this morning, so maybe there's hope. A 35-year-old female. So,
my uncle was pretty happy.
Sorry?
My uncle was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see when the elections come around next year. Look, it's tough. It's the toughest in my history of hospitality at the moment. We're down on previous years. Perfect storm of costs of living. Our costs have gone up extraordinarily. Our insurances are up 250%. Our cost of goods are up anywhere between 20 and 30%. Rents have gone up. Wages have gone up. And a good restaurant 10 years ago made 20% profit. Now we're skating on thin lines of 3 to 5% if you're a good operator. And really, if any investor asked you to invest $1 and I'll give you 5 cents return or 3 cents return, you'd go tell them to jump over the fence. So it's really, I think there's two different, and it's funny because we sort of sit in the middle to a degree with my businesses, because we're not, we employ probably about 240 staff, I suppose, with all my businesses, maybe a few more. But I think there's two different models of hospitality that are going to survive this current climate we are in at the moment, because you're either a mother and a mop and pop, what I used to call, or two partners like yourselves that are in the businesses, running the businesses, and you guys you got a few more, so probably not you guys, but there's a lot of people who just have their one little business, they work in their 5 days, they're creating a wage for themselves, and they will survive. Yeah. But then there's the big groups like the Lucas Group and the Merivales and all them, which I think, hats off to them. They're doing well and being successful. And Merivale Group is, I think, one of the most extraordinary groups, as is Swill House and all the others. I think hats off to the businesses they run. And then there's sort of the ones in the middle, which I think that's where the hardest sort of patch is, that middleman where you have to start employing executive chefs to run the businesses, and the management costs get up quite high, and it just drives the margins down a little bit less. And people are definitely spending less. We're finding at sort of 15 to 20% spend less in our restaurants. So it's tough at the moment, but we're going into a great Christmas. We've got great bookings for Christmas, and that'll get you through the early year next year to keep going. It just trickles along, and but it is tougher. It's definitely tougher. And people, sorry, I'll keep going on. I will go on about this a bit more, but I even just got back from France, and we did a rural trip through France in Burgundy and Bordeaux, and in a rural restaurant, you're paying for a decent bistro meal. You're paying for a peasant French dish 50 Euro, which is what, 80, 90 Australian dollars. Yeah. And for a coffee in a rural area, you're paying €6-7, for a flat white so that's, so when people are saying that we're, getting angry because we're going to be paying $6 or $7 for a coffee, we just haven't moved with times. I mean, a coffee 10, 15 years ago was $4. And a coffee is now, what, $5.50, $6?
If you travel the world, I believe Australia is still very cheap compared to the other big cities.
Yep. But, it's also that very, very fine line we have to balance and walk of if we do put our prices up too far, people can't afford to go out. So, and, I completely understand that. And we watch that line very finely. And we just put our menus up 4%. And I feel that has even made a little change now. That tiny 4%, it's gone up $5 per set menu. And that's made a difference to our bookings. And people, so it's a very fine line of watching.
It has made a good difference or a bad difference in bookings?
Well, it's made a little bit of a difference because we've dropped in bookings a bit, but we're obviously taking a little bit more. So it's sort of the line is, but we're right on that very.
It's very hard to balance it out.
Yeah,
now.
we don't want to go above that line now. Yep. We're there. Yeah.
So would it be more recommending like increasing prices or lowering prices on menus?
Well, I think.
What should we do, Jason?
Okay, yeah. Here I am. Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, I thought I was coming here to ask that question. Here's the thing. It's very hard because when people become so quiet in the restaurant, they drop their pants. So I see a lot of restaurants at the moment doing, 2 courses and a glass of wine, even for lunch and dinner, for $50, $55, $45. These are prices we had 15 years ago, So when we keep having people that drop their pants like this just to get people through a door, it makes it very hard for us to then be raising our a la carte prices or set menu prices. That's not on a deal. I've never discounted in my life. I'm not a person. I'd rather value add than discount. So in saying that, we do a prefix lunch, which I think's $55 for 2 courses or something, but doesn't include a glass of wine. But dinners, we very much, we would never do a dinner deal as such. And it's become hard because you've got all these, we're a steak restaurant to a degree, and you've got, nearly every pub in Victoria or restaurant doing a steak night now and a steak frites night, and and they're doing it for $35, and ours is up around $60, I suppose now. So that's it. Every time someone does a new thing like this, it grabs at a little bit of what we do. So you've just got to make sure you're offering it a point of difference. And I think our point of difference is, our offering, because you do walk into Entrecôte and you do feel like you haven't paid a $15,000, business class trip or a $3,000 economy trip to Paris. You've walked in and it's here in Paran. And then the other thing is, every night we have live jazz on the piano because that's such an important part of my hospitality background with the piano. So, it's more about the feeling, like you said before. You've still got the feels of Entrecôte.
Coming to your restaurants is an experience.
It is.
You don't just go for dinner or lunch.
That's right. And thank you for mentioning that. And that's what I think our little bit of point of difference is. And I think we just have such an extraordinary regular clientele as well. And then, having the Entrecôte name also gives you a little bit of an international pull. So when people come to Melbourne, they say, we must check out the Melbourne Entrecôte. So we have a little bit of international pull as well.
Have you had any problems with copyrights from the real Entrecôte?
Not really. No, because you can't copyright the name word Entrecôte. So we've got a restaurant in Sydney that's open called himself Entrecôte Brasserie, and a lot of people, and they've
they confusing
it's us, and I mean, and their website's very similar to ours as well. The wording in particular.
Can you protect yourself?
You can't really. No,
you can't.
No, not with the name like Entrecôte. No, because I suppose if that was the case, Entrecôte would be chasing me from Paris. So yeah, it's funny when we were first opening Entrecôte 10, 11 years ago. We were going round and round in our head. What should we call it? What should we call it? And then we just thought, Entrecôte. It's available. Yeah, let's book it for.
I've been last summer to Entrecôte in Paris for the first time.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And
it was beautiful.
Yeah,
but yours, it's amazing. It's a different level.
Theirs is brasserie, brash. The sauce is much oilier. I remember when we first opened, I went over with Ruth, my general manager, and Brem, and we must have eaten there over a week, 3 or 4 times. Then I went and sent my head chef over for a week to study the sauce. Because 11 years ago, when we were opening, the sauce was not online anywhere. I mean, there was no version of the Entrecôte sauce online anywhere. So it was only through trial and error over a couple of months when we came back that we got to the version of what our Entrecôte sauce is, which is very different to the one in Paris. The one in Paris it's made with chicken livers. It's made off site. It's quite oily. It's not as herb driven as ours. But so we have our own version of. I call it Entrecôte à la Jones.
Yeah. Often you say that is a secret recipe.
Well, it's not anymore.
Okay.
As of April next year, it will no longer be a secret. Okay. It comes out in the book, the whole recipe, all 16 ingredients. But you know what? It's so much work. If anyone can be bothered making it, good luck to them. It's a lot of work, that sauce, twice a day, let me tell you.
So it's a balance between creativity, hospitality, and so experiences in your venues. It's like a pattern in life. How do you balance creativity?
How do I balance it all? The creativity, the business. Yeah. Well, I think the key now, but for me, is living half in the city and half in the country.
Nice.
We're very blessed that we are down at, we have a lovely little farm. We call it a farm. There's no animals, but it's a big garden. A farm of flowers, let's say. Down near Dalesford, a little place called Lionville. And we spend pretty much Friday to Monday there, so 3 or 4 days a week there. So we're only in Melbourne now, sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we head down Friday. And down at the farm, I spend most of the time on the lawnmower or in the garden. And of course, I'm working, but not working in an office or working in the restaurant. So I have such a lovely amount of time to pause and reflect and have a clear mind to come back with a reset mind to start the week every single week of the year.
How important is that?
It's like, I can't say everyone can do it because it's a luxury to do it. And I'm blessed to be able to do it.
You also worked 40 years, right?
That's right. I mean, I've worked for it. I mean, no one's given it to me.
It's an overnight success.
40
years of overnight success.
Yeah, 40 years of working. Yeah, and we have a little farm. Yeah. So yes, but we are lucky, and I have, and also I couldn't do that if I didn't have a great team back at home here in the city. But did the day-to-day operations of a restaurant. And my staff, Ruth, my GM, has been with me for over 13 years. My executive chef's been 11 years. My marketing manager, Ricky, has been with me 11 years. My CFO's been with me for 11 years. So these are people that understand me. I mean, and I am, no bars held, I am not easy to work with because I'm probably volatile, probably ADHD, so these guys understand me. They know my moods, they know my quirks, and they also, more importantly, know my vision. So they can answer questions without me being there, knowing that they'll 99% of the time have the right answer. Yeah.
So, Jason, what is your vision?
My vision? Well, I end the book in saying that this is not goodbye to 10 years at Entrecôte. This is hello to the next decade. So I think I've got another 10 good years of working in hospitality, I think, which will take me up to 60. And then I plan that I will have chooks.
No, that's fine. You don't have to go like, you don't have to pass 10 or 20 or 40 years, like whatever. It's fine. I mean, that's but still, your heart is still tied up to the hospitality.
I think so, yeah. If I'm lucky enough to be able to do another 10 years, because this industry, I mean, I even say to my whole team, we are realistically, and I think everyone in hospitality would understand this when I say this, we're 2 to 5 months, if not even shorter, off being broke. 2 bad months would close me down. 3 months would close. That's that skint. It's that tight. So if I'm blessed that we still have customers coming time after time, and I can get another 10 years, even just with Entrecôte, I'd be very, very happy. And I would be.
How do you manage the stress of thinking, that something could happen, but still?
Well, I do, and that's probably a thing that I've got to learn a little bit better to manage, because I wake up every morning thinking I could go broke. And I start my day thinking that, which is probably not a healthy way to start your day. I'm getting
Did you
better.
listen to our conversation?
We talked about
Literally
it this
10
morning.
minutes ago.
I mean, this is the thing. So I wake up with this fear, and I have to improve on what we're doing, so I don't allow that to happen. And when I say broke, I just mean it's. I don't think people, the public, understand.
I understand what you
You
mean.
do, but you're a restaurateur. But the public really do not understand. They might see you driving a nice, decent car because you lease a decent car. And I think the other thing is there's a lot of bad operators out there that don't pay their taxes, don't pay their super, don't pay their staff properly. And for the people that do pay all those things properly and on time, and yes, we can lease a nice, half decent car. That's okay. We're allowed to do that because there's not many other perks really in the industry.
Have you ever felt the tall poppy syndrome in Australia?
Look, they say tall poppy syndrome is well and alive, and I've had a few people, go at me at times, but I suppose the biggest thing is I just don't take on partners. I've had a few partners and would never do it again. That's all I'm going to say about that. But no, I don't think I've ever really had the tall poppy syndrome because I've not come from any wealth or any money. So everything I have, I've had to work for very hard.
No, now that you are very successful, do you? Have you
No, I don't think so. My partner may have a different answer, but I don't think so. No, I think because I make it clear that I've come from nothing. There's no great promise that I've come from any great line of succession or wealth. So I think people understand. Yeah, and I think I'm fairly down to earth as well. Like I'm not better than anyone. So I don't think, and I'm also, I know every part of, even all my teams. I've built the restaurants. I know every part of my restaurant, every PowerPoint, every shelf, how many gas burners we've got, how many kilowatts each thing's uses. I mean, I know every part of my business. So when somebody asks me a question, I know it's not like I'm not the restaurateur that just designs something and then walks away. I'm still so involved in the day-to-day, every detail of the business.
I know you, and I know you are very hands-on.
Yeah.
Between conception, like having ideas, and execution, what do you like more?
That's a great question. Nothing excites me more than building a restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah. I love building restaurants. I've owned 32 restaurants in my life.
32.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So, owned and been involved in 32 restaurants. So for me, the buzz of that build, that concept, that from the brand, I mean, I did all my own branding. I just love that. I love that part of it. I love the opening. We don't do any grand openings. We just open slowly, everything we've ever opened. And then when it opens, I'm like, oh, next. That was the old me. I don't do that anymore.
So you're not going to open other restaurants?
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done. Yeah. I'm saying it online here.
Right.
I'm done. Yeah, the industry is not what it used to be. It's financially, it's too hard. And unless you've got an extraordinary brand and a belief of people behind you, of followers, a happy band of followers, I think the industry is getting too tough now to open a new place. For me, yeah. And I'm also getting to a stage where I'm more winding down than winding up. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what would you say to a young restaurateur that just jumping into the scene today in Melbourne?
What would I say to a young restaurateur? Oh gosh, what my mind's saying something that I'm not going to say.
You can say whatever.
My mind's saying don't do it.
Yeah, that's a common
at
answer.
this stage, we have 90% of the restaurateurs that say don't do it, and 10% that say do it.
Do it. No,
So we are
my
90-10.
mind says don't do it, but my heart says give it a crack, give it a go. Just watch your costs. Don't overcapitalize. It's becoming harder and harder to open a restaurant. My first cafe I opened here in Melbourne 18 years ago, Poor Jim Mr. Jones in Hawthorne. We opened for $15,000. And we were taking that more than that a week in the first week, and it was cash only. Those were the days. So, but now, it's very hard to open a restaurant for under $1.5 million by the time you do a fit out. I mean, you can get the old one. You might buy someone else's shell and be able to just do a little fit out and spend a couple $100,000. But yeah, and the key is we all want bigger and better. So when somebody opens a restaurant, everyone there's an expectation that it will be this grand, big, great, couple of $1 million property. And I'm telling you now, you won't get a return on your investment. Yep. So, I mean, I look at little places like, is it Marigold? No, not Marigold Cafe, Carnation Canteen, or Hannah with Etta and the new one she just opened, a little bar.
Daphne.
And I see them, and I think now they're great examples of good little restaurants. I think. I went to a restaurant. I mean, my favourite restaurant in Victoria is Chauncey in Heathcote. Tess and Louis, that is a restaurant. That is a restaurant of my dreams. We eat there once a month. It's extraordinary. If you haven't been, go. I'll take you there.
I will go.
You can pay. And, no, but I think that's a fantastic restaurant. But we went to a little restaurant in Trentham on the weekend, a husband and wife team. She's French, he's French trained. 3 entrees, 3 mains, 2 desserts and a cheese. It's probably some of the best food I've eaten this year. Fantastic little restaurant. 12 seats, 6 tables of 2 or 4, but really only 12 to sort of 14 seats. And it was superb. They'll make money because they've only got 2 wages.
Yeah.
But they'll never have anything to sell. There's no end result. And the same as if you have a restaurant where your name's on the front door. One of my favourite restaurants in Melbourne is, of course, amazing Katarina. But no one's going to buy Katarina's because her name's on the front door. So it's going to be a hard thing for her to have to move on when she decides. Katarina would never retire anyway.
For sure. We know Katarina.
I think she's 66, but she looks about 40. So she's an amazing person. I love Katarina. So I don't say don't do it. I say I don't think anyone should say don't do it because it's an industry that's given me a life of joy and I've had some great successes out of it. So, I think everyone should give it a crack. But yeah, don't do it is an easy thing to say.
No, but it's always like a balance, right? Especially when you're younger, between like passion and of course sometimes the challenges are bigger, but also I think younger person should just jump it in and do it.
When you are younger, you have that. You are a bit naive, but you are that naive that you believe it. So almost to the point of delusion. But then most of the time you make it happen.
That's right. Yeah.
It's funny though. I was thinking about this last night actually. And my biggest frustration at the moment, one of my biggest frustrations in the business, if I have one, is social media. Because now, and it got me thinking about restaurants. Because as a restaurateur, when I opened my first restaurant when I was young, I'd get a chef and I had to get a bookkeeper that came in once a month. And I was on the floor and ran the restaurant and was the manager. And I probably had about 10, 15 staff in this little restaurant. But that's all you had to do. You didn't have to worry about marketing. You didn't have to worry about social media. You didn't have to be a bookkeeper. You didn't have to worry about online reviews. Now as a restaurateur, you've got to put on this hat, this sleeve, this hat. You've got to be a designer. You've got to be an accountant. You've got to be a social media manager. You've got to be a content creator. You've got to be a mentor for your staff. You've got to be a psychologist for your staff. You've got to watch every dollar. You've got to be proactive rather than reactive to your finances because if you're reactive, it's too late and the money's walked out the door and you won't see it again. There's just so many hats as a restaurateur you have to wear now.
With social media, sometimes I feel, because I have restaurants, that we are running a digital marketing agency that as a service offer restaurants.
Serving food, yeah. And social media, trying to keep up with all the different times, all the social media platforms there are, number one, and then all the different algorithms that change every couple of months. So, we'd be getting, 1,000 likes one day and all of a sudden, next 2 months they change the algorithm, you're getting 60 likes on the same sort of content. So it's changed. Just keeping up with all that it's exhausting. And, if you to employ an agency that does it all for you and, you're looking at big bucks. I was telling a friend the other day, we're looking at different ways of doing a social media and stuff. And she said, you should have a look at the ones we're using. They're really good. And I said, she has a very big business. And she said, but they're probably a bit expensive. And I said, how much are they a month? They said, they're $40,000 a month. And I said, I don't think you understand what my budget is.
I can do something for a better reasonable price if you want.
Are you pitching him?
we just
It's mental. It's mental.
No, sometimes they're like, vanity metrics, you know what I mean? Like the likes of vanity metrics. At the end of the day, what you're saying is like the money. You need to count the money in revenue. And I'm learning so much from all entrepreneurs that we have in here. They was like, I had to learn how to just put the dollars on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So it's like, to me, all the sexy side of hospitality, there's always the other side.
Yeah. It's far from it. There was a meme on Instagram and all these TikTok and all this where they say, I had to laugh because it was it had a picture of how the public think a restaurateur works into his restaurant, and the restaurateur walks in and someone hands him a short black and then someone holds him a glass of champagne and and then the next clip is how he actually walks in. He's carrying 100 boxes and he's like trying to push the door open with his leg.
Funny, yeah.
And I thought that is exactly it looks glamorous, all this, but behind the scenes in a restaurant, And what is can I ask your people that listen to this podcast? Is it mainly industry led or is it
Yes,
public
we
led?
started the project because we wanted to connect and inspire our audience with industry people, so related to the hospitality industry. And, we also started it for us because we wanted to meet these beautiful people and we learned so much.
Fantastic.
And now, with the incredible guests that we are having, we're getting a lot of exposure.
Yeah, great.
And it's also to give a platform, as you said before, people think that restaurants are just glamorous, and the glamour is 100% of what a restaurateur does. Reality is 1% or 2%.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, what we discover interviewing all these guests is there is a lot of hard work, sleepless nights, sacrifices, tears.
Well, it's funny because, sleepless nights, it would be a lot less than I used to, not 7 nights anymore a week, but 4 to 5 nights a week. I still have the 4 o'clock terrors where I go to bed on time. Like I might be in bed by 11 o'clock most nights, but I have at 4 o'clock on a dot, I wake up and for 2 hours, I have the 4 o'clock terrors where everything goes through my mind. And it's always business. It's always business. And then I fall asleep around about 6 and I fall into a heavy sleep, which is great, and wake up about 8 or so. But yeah, even now, I still have the 4 o'clock terrors. They're just not getting as bad.
So Jason, the last question, what would you say to your younger self if you can provide some advice?
Oh, gosh. It's deep. A younger Jason. Just believe in yourself more. Believe that you can do it. You can do it. You can do it without.
Right? You actually did it.
I did it. Yeah.
At that
that's right.
stage, you didn't.
But I didn't believe it as a younger. Yeah, I mean, I did because I'm talking about a person that opened a restaurant was 17. But I suppose through my middle years, I was knocked back a few times by people and put down by a few people, and probably lost my confidence a little bit. Whereas now, I'm my own person. I have an amazing partner who supports everything I do, 100%. And I listen to him on most of it. But yeah, I think, just believe in yourself, and as opposed to what I said, don't do it. I said, give it a go. Just give it a go. Yep.
That's amazing. So thanks, Jason, for being here. Been a pleasure.
A pleasure.
To listen to your story and to your advices. And all the best with your next 10, 20, 50 years. And with the book promotion.
Wouldn't it be great? Yes, buy the book coming out in April next year.
Thanks so much.
Pre-sales go on sale in January.
Amazing.
Thank you so much,
Thanks heaps,
Jason.
guys. It's been an absolute
Grazie
pleasure.
or merci.
Merci to you,
Merci
bro.
beaucoup.
I'd reply if I could.
That's right. Hey guys, thanks for watching the episode. I'm gonna see you in the next one.
Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire.